Hi everyone, my name is Valentina Bošković Marković and I'm an English teacher at Singidunum University. I hope you're all doing fine and I hope you spend this time learning something useful, which is actually the point of my today's presentation. I'm going to talk about urban English vocabulary, new idioms and expressions used by millennials. Now, we all know what the English language stands for, right? We all know what it is. It's the language almost everyone understands on all corners of the earth nowadays. But what is it according to millennials? According to millennials, English is a language that lurks in dark alleys, beats up other languages, and rifles through their pockets for spare vocabulary. Another definition by millennials is that it is language used by boomers, so ignorant gamers won't know what their grandparents are talking about. Those are usually words that contain more than one syllable and spelled correctly when written with pen and paper. Of course, this was a funny definition. Why? Well, because millennials don't use, let's say, formal English, then they don't use these typical expressions. They quite often use some abbreviated or shortened forms of words. And you will see what those words are in the very next few minutes. Another definition of English is that English is a crazy language. Of course, this is, again, a joke. It's actually an essay that I'm going to read to you very, very quickly so that you can get an essence of what English is to some speakers or to some of those who have to learn it. So let's face it, English is a crazy language. There is no egg in eggplant or ham in hamburger, neither apple nor pine in pineapple. English muffins were not invented in England, or French fries in France. Sweetmeats are candies, while sweetbreads, which aren't sweet, are meat. We take English for granted. But if we explore its paradoxes, we find that quicksand can work slowly, boxing rings are square, and a guinea pig is neither from Guinea nor is it a pig. And why is it that writers write, but fingers don't think, grocers don't gross, and hammers don't ham? If the plural of tooth is teeth, why isn't the plural of booth beeth? One goose, two geese. So one moose, two meese. One index, two indices. Is cheese the plural of choose? If teacher taught, why didn't preachers prot? If a vegetarian eats vegetables, what does a humanitarian eat? In what language do people recite at a play and play at a recital? Ship by truck and send cargo by ship. Have noses that run and feet that smell. Park on dryways and drive on parkways. How can a slim chance and a fat chance be the same, while a wise man and a wise guy are opposites? How can the weather be hot as hell one day and cold as hell another? When a house burns up, it burns down. You fill in a form by filling it out, and an alarm clock goes off by going on. When the stars are out, they are visible, but when the lights are out, they are invisible. And why, when I wind up my watch, I start it, but when I wind up this essay, I end it. Now I know why I flunked my English. It's not my fault. The silly language doesn't quite know whether it's coming or going. And I hope this is not the case for all of you. I hope you don't all agree with this essay. The next definition I'm going to cover before I actually give you the examples of urban vocabulary is who is a millennial. It's a person reaching young adulthood in the early 21st century. The term generally refers to the generation of people who were born between the early 80s and 90s, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary. The millennial generation is also known as Generation Y because it comes after Generation X, actually those people between the early 60s and 80s. What you're going to hear in the next couple of minutes are 30 words and expressions that are used by millennials. I guess you have already heard some of them, and I hope you will be able to learn something new after this presentation. So the first word, or actually the first collocation that we're going to learn today is a boomerang child. A boomerang child is a child who moves out to start his or her own life, but then returns home to live. often as a result of the economy, but possibly due to irresponsibility of some kind. Or if you go to study abroad and you go back to your home after studying, then you're a boomerang child as well. As you can see, example in a sentence. An example of a boomerang child is a person in their 30s who lives in the basement of his childhood home. This is not something that is typical for America. Unfortunately, it is still very typical for Serbia, but that depends on a lot of things. The next expression is a crackberry. A crackberry is actually a slang term for a mobile phone brand, BlackBerry, that implies its user is addicted to the device. However, nowadays, it doesn't only have to refer to a BlackBerry, it refers to any kind of mobile phone and the person being addicted to that phone. So as you can see in the example, this has resulted in a syndrome known in some circles as crackberry, where people are addicted to the BlackBerry by research in motion. I think we're all crackberries nowadays, unfortunately. I'm also guessing you know the meaning of the next phrase or collocation, which is duck face. It is a face made by pursuing and pouting one's lips in an attempt to make them appear fuller or to make the cheekbones appear more prominent. As it says here, it is frequently used by young women in selfies or other photos. Or as you can see in the example, she's so obsessed with taking duck face selfies. The next one is a very short word which is used as an exclamation, and the word is earmuffs. It is an exclamation used to inform another one that they should cover their ears to avoid hearing what's about to be said, as in profanity or a secret. So, for example, kids, your father and I need to talk, so please, earmuffs. The next collocation that is quite often used by millennials, and the next activity actually that is used by millennials, is ego surfing. When you ego surf, you basically use a search engine to look for references about yourself. So this would mean that you type your name in, for example, Google, and you list and take a look at what you can find about yourselves online. Or as you can see in the example, I'm ego surfing on Google, but I still haven't found anything interesting. So you can try and do some ego surfing after this presentation. I'm guessing also you've heard the next one, which is hangry. You can guess it's a combination of hungry and angry. It's a terrible emotion or a state of mind and behavior characterized by being angry as a result of hunger. Or as you can see in the example, I'm so hangry at the moment that I really can't talk to you. The next expression is a helicopter parent. Now, mind you, this is not something a parent would say. Quite often, it's something a kid would say about their parents. So a helicopter parent is a parent who meddles constantly in a child's life, often into adulthood, to the point of attempting to control every aspect of the child's life and the actions of those he or she interacts with. Or, as you can see in the example, I wish Laura would shut up and stop talking about her daughter. What a helicopter parent. I also guess you've heard about the next one, at least in movies or TV shows, and it's a very short word, non. Non stands for eating or for snacks. So when you want to ask someone, would you like some snacks? If you were a millennial, you would say, would you like some noms? The next word is again a combination of a prefix and another verb that you all know. The verb is regret. With a combination of pre, we get a millennial word pregret. Maybe you can guess the meaning. Pregret is basically knowing that you shouldn't do something or you will regret it afterwards, but you do it anyway. Or as we would say in Serbian, žaliti unapred. So every Friday night, I pregret that I will go to the club, meaning I know I will be sorry, I know I will regret it afterwards, but I'm still doing it. Snail mail is another collocation that is quite often used by millennials, and it refers to the usage of the regular postal service rather than an email, the implication often being that it will take longer to get it and could have been sent via email. Or as you can see in the example, they will send their application via snail mail. Another example, or again a combination of two different words, is the word hyperactive. You can guess it's a combination of type and hyperactive. And it refers to a person who is overly talkative in emails or a text. You should remember that it refers only to a person who's talkative in written form and not in spoken form. Or as you can see in the example, man, Emily should get a job. She's been text messaging me for every 2 minutes. And there are 10 emails in my inbox from her. She's way hyperactive today. Or as you can see in the photo below, what are other words for hyperactive? Overactive, hyper, wild, frenzied, excitable, high-strung, hectic, feverish, frenetic, or frantic. Once again, I repeat that it only refers to someone being talkative in written form. I guess you know this one. It's an abbreviation, YOLO, which stands for you only live once. It's basically an initialism used to express carpe diem or seize the day sentiment. So, for example, I think you should give it a chance. I mean YOLO. Spilling the tea is the next expression that millennials quite often use. Tea means gossip, especially in British English. If you spill the tea, that usually signifies that gossip is being shared. So, for example, do you know what happened to George? No, please spill the tea. Please let me know. Please say the gossip. If you're salty, it has a very negative connotation. It means that you are mad and grumpy. Or as you can see in the example, he was so salty after the exam that I guess he failed it. The next one is a very short word that we use when we want to refer to someone that we love very much. It's just bae. It's the one you love before anyone else. This word likely started as an attempt to say baby or babe, and then it was shortened to just bae, as an abbreviation for before anyone else. So, for example, bae, would you like to go out tonight? The next one is the verb to bounce, but not in its original meaning, of course. According to millennials, to bounce means to have to leave someplace quickly. So, for example, sorry, gotta bounce, meaning sorry, I'm in a rush and I have to go immediately. If you say that someone is a woke person is considered politically active or someone who is aware of all social issues, so someone who thinks critically. For example, I like him a lot because he's a very woke guy, meaning he thinks critically, he's aware of the situation in the whole world or things like that. The next one is the adjective thirsty. Again, it doesn't have its original meaning. The meaning of thirsty by millennials is that it refers to someone who is trying too hard for attention. Thirst is an undesirable quality as it can signify desperation or neediness. So a synonym for thirsty could be needy. So for example, I decided to leave him as he was too thirsty or too needy. If you throw shade at someone, it's a collocation, which means that you use a very sneaky way of putting someone down or criticizing them. So as you can see in the example, once again, one of her flaws is the fact that she loves throwing shade at her friends. A very negative trait. The next one is to ghost someone, or as a noun, we would use it in the form ghosting. Ghosting is a sudden disappearance, a person who is suddenly not answering texts, phone calls, or social media. So, for example, I haven't seen him in 3 months. I think he's ghosting me. Or, in other words, trying to avoid me. This is probably the word that is going to be used a lot this year, unfortunately, due to the current situation. And the word is staycation. Staycation basically means that you spend your holiday at home instead of traveling somewhere. So, for example, I think we'll all have a staycation this year due to the coronavirus all around the world. So, staycation or holiday at home. The next expression or collocation is firing shots. The meaning of this one is that when someone says something that's bound to offend another person, the comment isn't nice, so it's like a verbal bullet. So, for example, I don't like the way he treats you. He always shares these firing shots that show total disrespect. Again, a very negative trait. We use this one, actually. We've been using it a lot. to signify the level above too much. And now millennials started using it as well. So when you say extra, it means it's top-notch, something that's the best, or it can also mean that you're full of melodrama or extravagance. So, for example, Robert's behavior was extra when he refused to accept Anne's apology. So it can also have a negative connotation, meaning that somebody's behavior was way too much to handle. If you say to someone that they're basic, it means that they're very predictable, unoriginal, or even boring. So you're saying that they blindly follow trends and have no individuality or style of their own. For example, she's so basic, all she wants to do is watch movies and go out to clubs. So a basic person is someone boring, uninteresting. On the other hand, if you use the word or the adjective savage, savage means that something is really cool. On the other hand, it can also refer to somebody who doesn't care about what other people think. So, for example, wow, this was savage, man, meaning this was cool, or you're such a cool person. The next one is, again, an abbreviated form of saying what's up, and it's just sa. Sa is shortened version of what's up. So, for example, sa girl, I haven't seen you in a while. Quite often used in texting, in America especially. Rents, if you don't want to say the whole word, or if you don't want your parents to understand you, instead of using the word parents, you will just use rents. So, for example, I can't talk right now, rents are here. Squad is a term which refers to your friends or a group of people who you hang out with the most. So I spend the whole weekend with my squad. Another example is the expression keep it 100, which is synonymous with keep it real. For example, he's a great guy, he keeps it 100 all the time. You can really trust him. So keep it 100 or keep it real. And the last one for today is no chill or zero chill. It's a negative characteristic. It is used to describe someone that is overexcited, freaking out, or really intense via their communication or behavior. And it's basically the opposite of being calm or chill. As you can see in the example, he texted me 49 times and called me 10 times in one day. He has zero chill. I hope this presentation was interesting to you. I hope you learned something new. In case you have any questions, feel free to contact me. You have my email on your screens. I would like to thank you for your attention, to wish you all well, and I hope that I will see you soon at Singidunum University.